Hello guys, today we learn how to edit the forms in edit mode in which there is text box, drop down list and radio button list. For this you have required Visual Studio 2015, MVC 5 version and SQL Server 2012 or higher version. Our main motive is edit the form which record is already inserted in database. So our first step should be first add ADO.NET Entity Data Model and select the tables which are required and then add one controller name Studentlist controllers. Now step 2. Our first time to show the record in grid like below table wise, and when we press the edit button, edit form will be open and then we can change the data and save it again into database. Let us see here, this is the screenshot of the student list to show for editing. Let us see student name, admission in class, hobbies, genders, and there is three button edit, delete and details. So here we will talk about edit. So when you click on edit button below form, like this form will be open in edit mode, like custom form in edit mode, like student name will be filled from the database. Also when you select it while inserting the data in database, so there is login done selected, same way already selected will display here, and other checkbox, reading box and singing, listening, so it will not selected. Same way there is one drop down list admission in class, so I have selected third, so third class third will be display here, and there is one more control like gender where it is male and female, and here male is selected. So all the comes through the database and select as a selected which already save in the database. So now here we learn how can display data in edit mode like text boxes, and here you can see checkbox list, and there is drop down list and there is a radio button list. Here we cover three to more controls we can say that. Now let us see. For displaying the data only, you know already how can display. Now let us see the real example. First open Visual Studio, go to file, new projects, choose web ASP.NET MVC, and also you have to give the name. So put the name of the applications, custom form in edit mode and click on OK button. Choose empty template, and here you can choose MVC or both web API your requirement and click on. So you can see here our application will be created and there is empty folder, and there is some folder already there like controllers model views, and there is one web config file and global.x the global.asx file. So come to the point. Now I need to add one controller, so click on right controllers and click add, then controller, choose MVC5 controller empty and click on add buttons, and put the name of the controller is student list and click on add. So you can see here your controllers student list controller has been created, and there is one action method ActionResult Index. So also need to add the view for this action method. So right click on index and add view and click on add. So your index.html view has been created for the action result index. Our next step is add to ADO.NET Entity Framework, ADO.NET Entity Data Model. So go to mod, new item, and choose data, then select edu.net entity data models and click on add. EF designer from database, click on next. Our server name is this. You can put your server name and cancel it. Now click on new connections, put the server name and choose authentication, SQL server authentications, and put here user ID and password and choose the database we have already created. So put here sample database and test connections. So test connection succeeded and click on OK button. Now click on OK again. Choose yes and click next your sample entities and click next. Now choose your database subject like tables and procedure which you have already created. So go to tables, dbo, and I have to select here like hobbies master, that is master table, then tbl class, that is master, tblGender, that is master class, tblStudent, that is transactions table. Also there is table section, you can choose also this masters and click on finish. So you can see here model1.edmx file has been created and you can see the properties hobby masters, table class, table student sections, table genders and their table students properties. Also you can go model1.edmx page and then you can see hobby master partial class, table genders and table students and see table sections. Now first our aim is show the data in the list. So go to the student controllers and put here declare the object of database subject private sample entities db equal new sample entities. Now add the name space for this. So your name space is added now. Now I have to show the record from the like grid. So right here put where result equal to db.tblStudents and then I have to put that variable in the view so that can be return the data. So put here result. Now go to the index page, then where you have to write the some code to display the data. So first I have write here model at the rate model. So need to put m small as a small, then put the namespace custom form, put here m small, then put here custom dot models, then put here table student with. Now put some code to display the data. Headline will be view the student list for opening the student details. So also I have put here in the title page of the title view. Then I have write table class table define there one td. In td there is table headline like student name html display for model equal model or student name or in class or day ct hobby gender and section whichever you have required you can put here. Then after that I have put here for each loop where item in model, then put tr1 tr and there should be td according to the heading table heading. So student name class address ct model item dot hobby that it use here size section. And also I put three column here like html action link edit new id equal to item dot id means get the record identical record from the database and put closing of this and table close here. So there is one thing missing here. You can see there is I will getting error models. So that is for each loop that is connect collection or list you can say. So put here need to put here enumerable. So put here IEnumerable, put here IEnumerable, and I put here IEnumerable for collection or list, and then make a list sign and close up this list sign. And finally, when we run the application, there will no error show. In go to student controller, so you can see result db student to list and view result, that is data will show from the database, all data, all the student data. So now run the application. Put here controller name, student list, and that is index name, view name index. So you can see here view the student list of everything, the student detail, all the student data will be show here, and like student name, class, hobbies, and genders, whichever they have selected while entering the data. And there is three button like edit, detail, and delete. So now I have to only see here edit buttons. When you click on edit buttons, it will go edit page, edit view, and then show the data. First we see whether it is going or not. So click on edit. So in bottom you can see there is edit and oblique 1, edit oblique 2, edit forward slash 3, and edit 4. That is id is showing in left corner. So when we click on edit buttons, so there is no pages will be display here. So basically have not created for action method for this edit. So now first we have to create action method for edit, then need after that we need to add the for view for the edit. So close this application and put here action result and put here edit, and I actually you have passes student id, so you can put here integer question mark and id, and close this and return, and this one also write down return. And now put here one view for this edit, add view. So your view is added for edit action method. Now run the application again, so whether data this page view page is coming or not. So I have run the application, and first we will go student list index. Now here edit button, and when you click on edit we will get the edit, but need to add here some text box, radio button list, and drop down list. So we will see each one by one for better understanding. Here I input id equal to null, then return http status code by request. Also for this http status code need to add the namespace using system.net. You have know there is tblStudent that they define a partial class model automatically when you have add the edu.net integer model. So you can see ID, student name, admission day, city, hobby, gender sections. So I have put here tblStudent, students make object of this, and from get the data student which passing from through the view list view controllers list view. So tblStudent and find that is method extension method and put here id, so only that record will be coming here. In previous video we have defined one registration model view model for registration registrations. Why we define there, you see here that is a custom form. So the student name, hobbies, admission in class, and gender. So you can see here Adam, that is simple one record, and hobby that is a collection or list you can say. Also admission in class, that is also a list a collection, and mail, that is also list a collections. So you need to define accordingly a one view model according to this form to showing the data. Now let us see. You have defined here tblStudent, tblStudent db.tblStudent find ID. We can get the single record from the particular ID. Then I have defined a view model. So first need to define a one class. Go to models and put here add and class. Name of the class, like name you can give view model. Student you can put here and click on add button. So one model view model has been created and already you have defined, so you can choose from here. So put here one more class like public class sessions, and in the sessions you can define according, this model can be defined according to the page you have need to create it. So student name you can see student name, hobbies, that need to list. For hobbies I have already defined here, you can see hobbies public list. Hobbies masters we can get from the entity model. You can see here already defined public long string hobby is active. In more you can see hobby master, that is object, and you can also see admission in class, that is should be also list. Admission in class you can see I have defined public list, that is drop down list, so only get selected value. So I have defined list selected list item, then make object of this table class and get setter property. You can see here there is some error, so need to put here namespace line. So need to add the namespace for this. Go to this and select using system.NET MVC. So you can see here table class list has been defined according to drop down list, so need to add list selected list items. Need to care all the things when you defining the collection, which collection will be required. Models, integer id, string genders, which can be created while you have creating ADMX files. Go to again and generate list like id and their value, and for the selection of which already were selected, I define one more property like string gender name ct, say get setter property, and then after define address ct whichever you require. Selection sections. First you can see here list selection table class, and also you doing selection section. So that is view model for registration. So need to make object for this registration rg equal new registration. According to this registrations view model, you can show the data in the view. So you can see here this way we can show this. Now first already we told that we will go one by one. First put here student name and then one text box and write the code for this. Now I have to go first view model view for this. I have gone this view model, put here model, write here small m, and then put here the namespace, project namespace, custom, then models, then put here registration which have defined view model for registration. In title I have written here custom form in edit mode, and also you can put here in headline. So let us see. I put here the rate of using HTML begin form, put index, that is controller name in student list, may form method dot post for saving the data into database. Now I put here student name at the database HTML dot text box for x equal greater x dot student name, that will show the data from the database. That is a strong binding. When the data will present, that will show. And also need to one put submit button. So you can see here only one label and one text box bind strongly typed text box, and there is one input types equal to submit value equal to submit. Now write the code for this. Go to student controllers and you have make here like reg new registrations and put here like arg dot student name equal to tblStudent.Student. Now run the applications. First you have to go student list. Now you can see edit, click on edit and custom off in edit mode, but there is no data we are getting. So need to debug. So need to understand why this data will not coming. So when I define a reg, ob reg object for the sessions need to return in view. So close this RJ and return this. You can for better understanding you can put here object student and put here this one. There is no issue. And now run this application. Now click on edit. So you can see here student name you are getting Adam from the database. Go to this and click on this. When there is ID1 there is student name Adam, admission in class 3, hobby and blogging, hobbies that is blogging, dancing, and gender is 1 that's for male. So our first step has been clear now. Now I have to add one more like checkbox. So let us see. For checkbox I put here hobbies. For integer I0 I less than model dot hobbies master dot count I plus plus, and define code like this. HTML checkbox for X model dot hobbies master I is checked. It will get, then it will be selected. Then hobby get the hobbies, and I have written two field like HTML hidden for model hobbies master ID and HTML hidden for a hobbies master dot hobbies. So first there is you can see it checked that is getting error, and also write the code for this to adding the hobbies. So go to here student controller and put here rg dot hobbies master that is collections equal to that is list. So need to bind the list from the database. But you know that one thing no here, your hobbies only save in database blogging and dancing only, and but your hobbies master is hobbies masters where is active equal to y. So these two table will run you get the data. Like in master table there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 record which are active reading books, blogging, dancing and singing and listening, and only in tblStudent student 1 record ID 1. Now you have one transactions table tblStudent student where data is saved of student, and there is one hobby master where you can see there is 5 master is there like hobby reading, blogging, dancing and singing, listening. But student have chosen only blogging and dancing which roll number has each one. So our main motive is here to display all master but selected one column, that is which column has been chosen. So first our like you can see here blogging and dancing is separated comma. So first you need to remove separated comma and convert it into a table. Then make a right outer join to master so that all master data and transactions table which have chosen has been come up with selection value so that we can show on checkbox list. So let us see. You have made one store procedures, get student hobby. First, I have write the code SQL to break the comma separated value into a table. Let us see, we have defined str varchar 500. In str, I have store a hobbies for student ID. We pass from the back like student ID 1, then we get hobby dancing, and you can see and you can choose blogging and dancing. So blogging and dancing with comma separated will be stored. Then after that we make a temp table, create table tbl student hobbies, student ID integer and hobby varchar and date. Then we make a loop while length is tr greater than 0. Then loop will be continue until it will count with 0. So let us see, if declare temp body, temp hobby, varchar. If char index str greater than 0, then we store one by one temp hobby and str substring, cut the string from the comma separated value. So it will store. Again, begin in else part you have set temp hobby equal to str and set str equal to blank. Then in last we have put insert into tbl student hobby student id will one which passing from parameter and hobby will be stored student id and temp hobby. So one data will be stored in this temp tbl student hobbies. Then again we will actually we have two values like blogging and first time blogging will be stored, and when we done second loop then cut the second strings and put into the tbl student hobbies. Then our data will two rows will be stored in tbl student. Then here see in last we have made one SQL statement like HMID and hobby tbl student hobbies st and right outer join hobbies master make alias hm. So I am showing here hm.id hm.hobby and make a case statement like when it check case when student id is null then we put 0 as 1. So once means it will already check. So and make a join hobby master student hobby dot hm hobby and student id equal to id where is active equal to y. So when we run these procedures and passing the id get student hobby and pass one is give the selection. It give the all the cards from the master as well also give each value I have already checked by the student like 0 uncheck 1 1 blogging and dancing is check and 0 0 that is unchecked. So you can see here our one table like data will be created. By using this data we will show on which checkbox is selected or not. So let us see. When you update the model from this store procedure like go here and go to model and update model from this and choose. Already I have choose the store procedures. So get student hobbies and click finish we will add it. But one case you can see there if your model 1 TT didn't get the this value like get study hobby and underscore results for the procedures if you didn't find there's some complicated issue, so you can also use the execute command to get the result from the through the entity framework. Let us see if this procedure have already there, so there is not issue. You can directly use like go here. See you can see here I have already one use like db get. You can directly use if you get the get a student hobby if this procedure is so there in where model1.tt procedure show will be like this get a student hobby underscore results, but you have not seen the procedure. So there is issue to using this way directly. So let us see how can you use if you don't find in model1.tt. First you comment this. Let us see. For binding the checkbox, we have write the some code like rj, that is registrations object, and dot hobbies master I have put here. Then I have write a function populate hobby. Then we pass the student ID and go to the function populate hobby, and I have written the list as a object like hobbies master object and at the form of list. So let us see. Create a empty list to hold the result of the operation. So list hobbies master make object ls new list hobbies master. Then you know we cannot directly execute this. So I am using here like SQL parameters, array form param SQL new parameters, and passing the parameter like new SQL parameter student ID and that is ID. At the date of student ID which are in the present in the store procedures. And where result equal db.database.sql query. You have must declare the model for this data will return. So I made model one get hobby student hobby like id hobby is active and is checked. Is checked for checking the data to checkbox. Now so and then ex execute get student hobby, you can put it get student hobby, and that is procedure name, and student id that is parameter name, and param that is parameter. You can pass one or more parameters according to your requirement, and when we run the application you get the result. After that you have put where item in results hobbies master. The hobbies master you have to restore in it one by one and make a list. Then hb equal to item.id, hb hobby equal to item.hobby. And one thing more special I have declare here hb.checked. Then I have if item is checked equal 0, get from the data from the store procedure. You can see 0 and 1. And after that ls dot add.hb, that hb master model will added object added in the list, then return ls list of objects. So now run the application and get the real whether it is correctly working or not. Let us see. So you are showing the list of children, and now click first record where the student has selected blogging and dancing, and click on edit. So run F10 where result and check whether data have come or not. Record count 5, and you can see this form and 0 hobby reading books id 0 is active null and is checked 0. Same you can second blogging id and is checked 1, and also you can check 4 record 0. So you are getting the data. Now run. So you can see here id 2 reading books checked false. Same second will be added to hobby blogging and check 2. Now press F5. You can see your first student name already filled, and also you have 5 checkbox list and only 2 have checked, which can be selected by the student. So you can see here checkbox is clear now, and now I have to move to second like admission in class. I have to show this record is selected. So that is drop down. So I have to write the query for drop down and so this. First we go to database. So run this application, run query student. So you drop down, you can see here admission in class. They have selected 3, 12, 1, 7. For Adam selected 3. But here is 3. But our master you can see here table class. So there is 12 classes in a school. So here 12 but one is selected according to student table. So I have to write the query for this. Go to edit HTML. You have write here hobbies. Now I have to write the code for the drop down. Now I put here a in view control HTML helper class for the generating the drop down list. So see here admission in class, that is label, HTML drop down list for strongly bind, and use lambda expression x equal x class id and model tblClass, and put here select a class, and I have assigned one CSS like class equal to form controls. Now I have to write the code to bind this drop down. In this application we are implementing one by one controls. So you see here first binding hobby master. Now I will bind here drop down. So I am putting here like uh, object charges are table class equal to populate class id, class and id, that is student id. Now I have to define the populate class. So let us see populate class. So I have defined list selected list item because that is a drop down list, so there is option for the selected list item. So defining according to this like list selected list item, and populate class passing the student id. Then you have defined a create a empty list to hold the result of the operation. So where select list equal to new list selected item. Always you have need to define the select list item for the drop down list. And for like you can see in previous binding checkbox, you can only see assign the list object bindings. Here you define list selected list item binding, and then where result equal to get class. What is get class? So I have defined a name is I have defined a procedure. Let's just see SP. See, that is a get class, a store procedure passing the student ID. Same way in previous query about binding the hobby masters of selected item. So also same way you need to, you can see that is two table class, that is master, and table student, that is transition table which has selected inserted data into the table for one record here. Left outer join to table students on TC ID equal to TS admission in class and TS ID equal to student ID, which coming from the parameter, and put here TC ID, class ID and class name, that is master use, and make a case statement for this class is null then 0 and otherwise 1. So when we run the applications, put get class, run the procedure, so, and get the result. So you can see here all 12 data is here, but admission in class there is one check like one third is selected only. So according to three column you can bind the drop down list based on base which is selected with record inserted in database. Okay, now here you can see there is no not showing the get class, means we have not updated the model. So first update this get class. Also I make table get gender. So we have get class first. Okay, then finish. So check here whether it's coming or not. Get class. Refresh this. Not coming here. but you can check it. First need to comment it, then again update the model, get class, finish, and build applications. Also you can comment this. So check whether it's coming or not. Get class is come here. Also you can see directly get class result, that is procedure. When you update the model, your procedures look like name of the procedure, get class and underscore result. So you can use directly. Now uncomment get class we have commented, and the function you have declared also you can do uncomment. So see here, list of selected list item populate class. Due to drop down list, I have defined select list items and define empty list, and then where result equal to db class id pass student id to list. You can see here in this procedure I have all directly pass the procedure name and passing the id. It will get the result. In previous case, our procedure will not come here in model on TT. So I have used the what SQL query to execute, and our one thing missing here. So need to add. Now again run the application and see the results and click on edit. So you can see here admission in class is selected 3. What the data inside this user has selected, you can see here admission in class 3. Now our next time to bind the gender like radio button list. It is from the database. So first need to add the model, then add the code in view. Then after that we write the code in the controller action method. That is the best process. Now let us see. Go to model, update, update from model. What need to add? Get genders and finish. Your gender has been added. When you update, some property will be removed. So that is better way to define in separate. So that is best things. Not need to add again. Now go to edit forms and write the code for the radio button list. So let us see. Put here gender for I0 model dot genderlist dot count. Then after that I put tbl html.radio button for x equal x dot gender name, that should be id, and model gender list id. Then model gender list I dot is selected. Need to write some query here like is selected equal to true. We get the data from the store procedure. Then you have to check, otherwise put the null value. So that is missing is selected. Go to gender list tbl genders and put here public is selected. Gender you can put here. So I put here public boolean is selected, get set. Now I have to write the code. Here you can see binding hobby class. Now need to bind the gender. rb.rj dot gender list and put here id and semicolon. Now see here that is collection, so also I put here list of object. Gender list make a function name and integer id. Now same way I create a empty list tblGender ls new list gender, and we can directly get gender. So you can see here whether it's coming or not. So you can see in model1.tt get gender yield, that is a procedure. When you can see, when you will see underscore results, that is the procedures. And if same way we'll see, you can directly use db.gender and ID. It can execute, there is no issue. And after that, where item in results, tblGender make object of this. Gender.id, item ID, gender name, gender is selected, item is checked equal to true, otherwise false. Same way, I also some special if condition I have written here for selected value of gender for radio button list, true or false. Now run the applications again and say whether it is working correctly or not. So edit, run F5. See here, male is selected. So our main motive was done, like one text box coming from database, checkbox list which can be selected and also bind to database, and same way drop down list which are selected, and male female which that is radio button list which is also coming from database using the joining right outer join between master table and transaction tables. In the case of hobbies masters, that is transaction table separated by comma, so first we have converted into the table format by splitting the comma, then made a outer joins. Now when we click on submit button, the data will be saved. Let us see. So also write the code for submit buttons. See here for the code HTTP post for submit button, I have defined action result index, then the sessions, that is model, which is taking the collections and some simple value. Then now I have to write the code for the submit when you do some changes in the record. So let us let us see. There is a sessions make object of RG. Now where student equal convert to int temp data student ID, which coming from the edit. I have see here in edit action result. I put ID equal to temp data student ID and temp data keep to active the data, active the variable data in second other action method nearest to action method result. Okay. Now see here table student object student table student is find student ID. It will get the current data based upon the ID pass student ID. Then I put here object student name equal to g dot student name coming from the form collection of forms, and then where list hobbies rg hobbies master where x is checked equal to true, then to list hobbies master it will selected data in list hobbies, and then after we can concatenate the result content string join, put here x equal x dot hobby, and after the result dot content string I have write down to put in hobbies, and then mission in class reg dot class id object student gender name, and I have put here db dot entry object student dot state entity state dot modify, then I put a db dot save changes. Now run the application and see that is students record. You can see here I see here first record choosing blogging dancing singing, and put on edit buttons, choose redeem books and unselect and singing, and Adam who Adam when, and class I have choose here like 12 and mail, and click on submit button. So run F10 and see their data registration and their object. So you can see hobbies master 5 record, student name Adamu, class ID 12, and gender name 1 means male, F for female. Now F10. So you can see here result. Reading and singing, gender name 1, and save changes, and click F5. So you can see here Adam saying student name and change 12 and reading and singing and gender is 1. So this way we can see achieve the form custom form in edit mode which have a like text box, radio checkbox list and drop down list and radio button list. Thanks for watching. If you want to view more videos, please subscribe my YouTube channel.